Everyone thought he was a pathetic loser with no abilities, but he forms a contract with the most powerful spirit in the world to become the strongest hero. Ein was a useless loser born with the job class appraiser, which is considered worthless by everyone. But just like any young man with a dream, he still wanted to live his life as an adventurer. To achieve his dreams, he basically became a slave for an adventurer party, working hard to carry their items and loot for a pay. The swordsman and his wizard girlfriend treat Ein like a piece of and he can't even fight back because he knows that he is so useless that no other party will hire him. He stays back while the swordsman Zord and the wizard Jeline fight a rat monster, and once they are done, it is his job to appraise the monster corpse and dig out valuable parts from it. Since he doesn't have any strength, he finds it hard to pull out the monster's valuable teeth, but when he asks for help, Zord simply throws a rock at him, telling him that he is not fit to be in any party if he can't do the one job given to him. Ein knows that he has to keep working as an adventurer to get rich, so he swallows his frustration just like he swallows his uncle's yogurt, and somehow pulls out the monster's teeth. He keeps following Zord and the wizard girl Jeline, who suddenly find the corpse of a strong monster called the Hellhound. They think it is their lucky day because Hellhound parts can sell for a lot, and tell Ein to get to work immediately. He tells them that this setup seems suspicious because Hellhounds are not even found on this floor, but they tell him to stop thinking about things above his pay scale. They push him to the corpse, and while he is dismantling it, they spot another corpse at a distance. They eagerly tell Ein to appraise it and take all the valuable parts from its body too. However, Ein panics because according to the map given to them by the guild, this section isn't safe. He tries to convince the swordsman that he is getting bad vibes about this whole deal, but the douchebag tells him to stop being a pussy if he wants to keep his job. He threatens to fire him without any pay if he quits now, and Ein has no choice but to follow him. Soon, they reach another part of the dungeon and Hellhound corpses are just scattered around in front of them. Zord and Jeline think they walked in on a treasure trove, but only Ein realizes that they walked into a trap. He asks them to think about the situation carefully, because if it was an adventurer who killed these Hellhounds, they would have taken the valuable materials already. Unfortunately, the small dick energy Zord can't understand logic, and he tells Ein to shut up. Suddenly, Ein points towards a horde of Hellhounds coming towards them, and everyone freezes because of fear. Ein sees the blood on the jaws of the Hellhounds and realizes that the dead Hellhounds were victims of a gang war. The two adventurers shit their pants because they can't even defeat a single Hellhound, and they can't even outrun them. Zord suddenly gets an idea and tells Jeline that they should use Ein as a decoy. Ein panics on hearing this, but he can't defend himself as attacks him with a paralyzing spell. Ein falls to the ground, unable to move a muscle, and the two assholes run away after taunting the Hellhounds. Ein is completely delirious now, but as the Hellhounds bite him, the pain brings him back to his senses and breaks the paralysis. He uses a rock to get the Hellhounds away from him, and then throws the food inside his bag at them to keep them busy. He limps across the dungeon to escape, but to his horror, Zord and Jeline have blocked the exit. Luckily, there is another way nearby, but it leads him to a dead end as well. Just then, Ein hears the sound of the Hellhounds coming towards him, and he realizes that he is going to die either way. He curses his useless job that made him suffer all his life, and thinks that if he didn't have the dream to be an adventurer, he would have lived a long, ordinary life. He realizes it is too late to regret things, and then decides to skydive from the cliff without a parachute because that would be less painful than being killed by the Hellhounds. He dives off the cliff, thinking how he lived and died as a loser, and after falling for a long time, he finally hits the ground. He is fatally injured but not quite dead yet, and then suddenly, a pretty girl in a white dress appears before him. She glitches and keeps vanishing, then appearing as she walks towards him, and then kisses his forehead. Ein barely sees a glimpse of her before falling unconscious, and when he opens his eyes again, the girl is not there. However, all his injuries have been miraculously healed, and he finds that he is in a small pool at the base of a giant tree. Ein tries to analyze the water to see if he can drink it, and he is dumbfounded when he finds that this water is an S-rank item called Yggdrasil drops that can instantly cure any injury or disease. He then appraises the giant tree and finds that it is Yggdrasil, or the world tree, that produces an infinite amount of mana. Ein is astonished to learn that, because the only world tree known to them withered and vanished a long time ago. The world tree was the only source of mana for all people, but even after it vanished, they could still use mana. This made the scholars believe that there were other world trees, and they tried hard to find them but never found any success. Ein still can't believe that the world tree was hidden in such a deep part of the dungeon. He realizes that the tree saved his life, and he gently caresses it while thanking it. He hears a soft moan, but there is no one around, so he thinks it was just his mind playing tricks on him. He then decides to take his chances and explore the dungeon so that he can find a way to reach the surface. He turns to the tree and thanks it one more time before going, and the girl from before tries replying to him, but words don't come out of her mouth. Ein heads into the dungeon, thinking that this place must be really difficult to cross because even the guild has not reached so deep. He still keeps moving ahead because he has no other choice. He doesn't encounter any monster for a while and lets his guard down, and then suddenly, a swift attack cuts his ear off, turning him into Van Gogh. Ein panics, but before he can do anything, another swift strike cuts his fingers. He then finds an S-rank monster in front of him, who doesn't have much attack power, but his speed is extraordinary. The monster doesn't even give Ein the chance to run away as it launches rapid slashes on him. Ein tries to crawl to the tree again, and the monster almost stabs him, but then he stops. Ein looks back to see what is happening, and sees that the big daddy of all monsters is here to tear the monster apart. The ferocious black bear kills the eyeball monster and then slashes Ein's face, partially blinding him. Ein screams in pain, and then the bear grabs him, squeezing him to break his bones. Ein is sure this is the end for him, but then suddenly, someone attacks the bear and kills it one strike. Ein can only see the small silhouette of the person who helped him, and hears them talk about how he came to help him only because someone special asked him to. Ein loses consciousness with that, and when he wakes up, he is at the base of the world tree again, completely healed, and with his injured eye replaced. Suddenly, he sees the girl in white in front of him, smiling at him while holding a cup of tea, and Ein is instantly smitten by her ethereal beauty. Ein can't stop staring at the girl, but then a loli appears next to him and tells him to stop getting any funny ideas about her daughter. Ein doesn't even understand what is happening and why this loli, who is flatter than my career graph, is calling the girl her daughter. The loli tells him to stop being rude to her daughter and drink the tea she specially brewed for him. She practically pours the tea down Ein's throat, and he finds that it is really delicious. He then learns that the loli is Ursula, the guardian of the world tree, and the pretty girl Yuri is not her real daughter. Ursula claims that she didn't even want to bother saving a lowly life form like a human, but since Yuri pleaded with her, she came to the dungeon and saved Ein from the bear. Ein is still stuck up on the part about Ursula being the guardian of the world tree, and she explains that there are 9 world trees in the world, and they have a guardian who looks after them and protects them from dangers. She then drops the bomb on Ein by telling him that Yuri is not a human, but the spirit of the world tree itself, and since Ursula has watched over her from the beginning, Yuri considers her as her mother. Ein remarks that Yuri is really pretty, and Ursula is not happy that he is hitting on her daughter. She threatens to gouge out his eye that she worked really hard on, and that reminds Ein that he was injured and blinded by the bear. Ursula tells him that the drops from the world tree healed him, but they couldn't repair his eye. However, Yuri wanted him to be able to see again and become even stronger, so Ursula created a special eye from him using the parts of the world tree itself. Ein is shocked to hear this and asks Yuri why she worries so much about him. She tells him that it is because he was kind enough to thank her, and Ursula elaborates on what she means. Even before Ein, other adventurers have fallen here, and though Yuri saved them all, none of them thanked her. Instead, some of them tore her branches after learning she was the world tree. That is why she considers the bare minimum kindness that Ein gave her as a great deal. Ein thanks her for saving his life twice, and Yuri starts blushing. Ursula interrupts their moment and tells Ein to get out of their house now that he is healthy. But Yuri says that he will be in serious danger if he goes like this. She asks Ursula to help him, and even starts crying. Ursula can't say no to her like this, so she decides to train Ein until he becomes strong enough to leave the dungeon on his own. Ursula immediately takes him into the dungeon, and Ein begins thinking that he won't survive the training. She takes him to a dark corridor and tells him to look ahead. Ein says that this place is darker than his future, and Ursula calls him a moron. She tells him that his left eye has the power of the world tree, and if he just focuses, he will be able to see more. Ein focuses on his left eye while thinking about Yuri, and then suddenly, he is able to see everything as clear as day. Ursula is pleased by this, and then throws a stone at a sleeping eyeball monster. The monster wakes up and starts rampaging around the room, and Ursula tells Ein that his first lesson is to dodge all the attacks from the monster using his appraisal skill. Ein tells her that the appraisal skill doesn't work like that, but Ursula is fed up with this idiot who gives up before even trying. She tells him that his spirit eye can use the appraisal skill differently, and he tries it on the eyeball monster and finds that it is going to target his right ear next. Ein is happy that he can read the movement of the monster, but that doesn't help him because the monster still reaches his ear and slashes it off. Ursula immediately puts up a barrier around them, and then heals Ein's ear with a world tree drops, telling him that she is going to heal him no matter how injured he is, which means there is no way he is going to leave the training incomplete. She removes the barrier and the eyeball monster attacks him again. Ein reads that it is going to attack his left leg, and then uses the appraise skill again to figure out the exact timing. Thanks to that, he dodges the attack, but as he excitedly tells Ursula about it, the monster attacks him from behind. She tells him to stop getting carried away just because he succeeded once, and he realizes she is right. He trains to dodge the monster's attack for 1 whole week, and now he can analyze the location and the timing of the attack at the same time. He is able to dodge all the attacks, but every time he gets cocky about this, the eyeball monster catches him off guard and attacks him. Ursula heals him as always, and then says that he has passed the first training, and now it is time for part 2. She tells him that he needs to defeat the eyeball bat now, and Ein says that his job class is not suitable for combat. Ursula tells him to stop being a whiny bitch, and then gives him a branch of the world tree that Yuri snapped herself so that he can use it as a weapon. She tells Ein to use it well and defeat the enemy with it. Ein takes up the challenge, thinking that since he can predict the movement of the monster now, he can easily strike it down. However, he finds that his swings are not fast enough to hit the bat monster. He asks Ursula to give him some tips, and she tells him to figure it out using the spirit eye. Ein decides to focus fully on the trajectory of the monster, and then suddenly, he is able to use an advanced version of his appraisal skill. When he uses the super appraise skill, he can see the trajectory of the monster in slow motion. He uses this chance to land a counterattack, and with just 1 hit, he smashes the monster into the ground. Ein is amazed by how strong he is now, but Ursula gives him a karate chop to the head and tells him to stop being overconfident with just this. She gives him his next task, which is to defeat all the eyeball bat monsters on this floor, and Ein manages to do it sooner than Ursula expected. She tells him that it is time for his next lesson now, and that involves appraising the abilities of the eyeball monster and making them his own. Ein says that is not even possible, but Ursula tells him that it is impossible for humans, but with the spirit eye, he can do it. Ein decides to try it, and after staring at the monster for a while, he suddenly obtains its super acceleration skill. His head feels like bursting because of all the new information, and then Ursula tells him to try the skill. Ein takes a crouching start and then runs like my dad after my birth, but his muscles rip apart because they are not meant to handle that level of stress. He falls to the ground, and Ursula heals him with the world tree drops. She tells him to keep running till he drops, and she will heal him. His muscles will become stronger each time, and by doing this hundreds of times, he will have a body that can endure anything. After a few days, his body becomes much stronger, and for his next lesson, Ursula tells him that she will let him appraise her skills even though she really doesn't want to. Ein asks her about the skill, and Ursula hits him with a fireball without warning. She tells him that the ability she is teaching him is to cast magic without chanting spells, and tells him to appraise her ability in the short time she shoots a fireball at him. Ein can't do it and gets roasted medium well instead, so Ursula just heals him and then shoots him again. After a while, Ein learns how to cast fireballs without chanting a spell, but he collapses quickly because he doesn't have enough mana. Luckily, the world tree drops from Yuri refill his mana quickly and even increase his mana capacity. Ein keeps up at his training for about half a month, and he is able to cast hundreds of fireballs at once and also use intermediate magic. Ursula tells him that he is finally strong enough to explore the dungeon on his own, but before that, she wants to conduct a final test. She takes him to fight a death bear, and Ein gets nervous because of his past trauma. Ursula tells him to be more confident because he has trained hard to become strong, and then pushes him in front of the bear. Ein shoots it with fireballs, but he is a stormtrooper at heart, and none of his attacks hit. Luckily, the smoke acts as a distraction, and Ein uses the super speed skill to reach behind the bear. It tries attacking him, but Ein uses the super appraisal skill to see things in slow motion, and then shoots a powerful wind spell at the bear. He then shoots fireballs at the bear without stopping, hitting some and missing some, but in the end, he manages to knock down the S-rank monster. He then appraises the death bear's abilities and absorbs the S+ rank skill Steel Cutter that gives extraordinary durability and piercing power to his attacks. While he is recovering from the headache after absorbing the skill, Ursula tells him that he has completed his training, and now he is ready to climb up the dungeon by himself. She then takes him back to the World Tree, and tells him to be grateful because she is going to give him a final gift before he goes. The gift is the remaining spirit core of the World Tree, and Ein says that he can't take it because it is really valuable. Ursula tells him that they are just loaning the power to him, because once he dies, the core will automatically return to the World Tree. She uses her magic power to fuse the spirit core with Ein's prosthetic eye, but he doesn't feel any difference. The old lowly tells him that it will take a moron like him a lot of time to understand the true power of the enhanced prosthetic eye. Ein then turns towards Yuri to thank her, but she is nowhere to be seen. He asks where is she, and Yuri replies to him from within his prosthetic eye before manifesting in her human form. Ein doesn't understand what is going on, so Ursula explains that since his eye has the spirit core of the World Tree, it is basically a replacement for the World Tree. That means Yuri can live inside it, and this way, she is going to be with him no matter where he goes. Yuri excitedly tells Ein that she will heal him from all injuries and diseases using her World Tree drops, and though he is grateful for that, he asks Ursula if it is fine for him to take the spirit of the World Tree with him. Ursula dropkicks him because she doesn't want to send Yuri with some random human, but she also wants the girl to explore the world and make some good friends. That is why she has decided to entrust her to Ein, because even though he is an idiot, he is a good person. Ein swears that he will take good care of Yuri, and Ursula tells him that he better do that. She then creates a glowing tattoo on his hand, which is the infinite storage spell. After that, she pulls out a spirit sword she created from the raw materials Yuri gave her and tells Ein to put it in his storage. Before he can do that, Ursula stabs his normal and then makes him swallow a magic stone so that it can replace his injured eye. Ein asks her what the hell did she just do, and she explains that his right eye is now replaced with the sage stone that will link their minds. Using that, they can communicate with each other anytime, and Ursula can watch everything Ein is seeing. She tells him that if she finds him getting too close to her daughter or beating it to her, she will find him and kill him. After that, Ein asks Yuri if she has any special plans once they reach the surface, and she says that she wants to meet her sisters. Ursula explains that originally there was just one giant world tree, but it got separated into 9 parts, and Yuri is just one of them. The rest of the world trees are her sisters, and Ein promises that they will travel all over the world to meet them. With that, he finally starts his journey, and Ursula keeps telling him about which route to take and which monsters he will face. Ein finds that defeating S-rank monsters is much easier now, and he doesn't even get a headache on absorbing their abilities because Yuri heals it instantly. Soon, he reaches the boss room, and Ursula tells him that unless he defeats the boss, the path to other floors won't open. Ein is not sure about it because the boss monster is going to be much stronger than anything else he has faced. But Yuri and Ursula tell him to have faith in himself. Motivated by their words, Ein enters the boss room and finds the dungeon core in front of him. Suddenly, a summoning circle appears on the ground, and from that emerges a giant stone golem. Ein tells Yuri to get back inside his eye, and then rushes towards the golem. He avoids the first attack easily, but then the golem throws a powerful punch at him. Ein uses another one of his acquired skills to turn his hands as hard as steel, but the effect of the punch rips apart his leg muscles. Yuri heals him on the spot, and then he uses the dissolving poison skill he got from killing a giant snake to melt the golem's hand. That makes the golem really furious, and it begins to recklessly attack Ein, who somehow escapes from its rampage and hides behind some rocks. He realizes that he can't get close to the golem now, but then Ursula tells him to use the ultimate spell she taught him because he has enough mana for that now. Ein decides to act on her advice and immediately uses the ultimate magic Nova Strike on the golem, hitting it with the power of a meteorite and melting its body. He can't believe that he can do this now, and then Yuri comes outside his body and starts healing him. Ein holds her hands as he thanks her, and Yuri starts blushing. That doesn't sit well with Ursula, who tells him to focus on appraising the golem's remains. Ein appraises the golem's body and gets some high-level defensive and offensive abilities. Ursula tells him that he can also appraise the dungeon core, and Ein is not certain if that will be safe. Just then, Ursula teleports near him and appraises the dungeon core for him. She finds that it is similar to the spirit core of the world tree, and uses it to strengthen Ein's prosthetic eye. She tells him that he can defeat more dungeon bosses and use the core to improve the power of his spirit eye, and that will make him even stronger. With that, the three of them exit the boss room, and the doors close after them. Ursula says that since the dungeon core has vanished, the dungeon is effectively sealed off now. That means the path to the world tree has been shut down, and even the hole through with Ein fell must have been sealed. She says that now no one can reach the world tree, and that means she doesn't have to stay behind to protect it. She decides to come along with Yuri and Ein, and soon they reach the surface. Meanwhile, in a bar in the city, the swordsman Zord is out drinking with some fellow adventurers. He tells them the story of how his party was surrounded by hellhounds in the dungeon, and they didn't think they would make it out alive. But then he twists the facts and says that it was Ein who decided to sacrifice himself to save others. He begins acting like he is deeply grateful to Ein to get some sympathy from other adventurers. But as he sees Ein standing behind him, he spits out his drink. Zord asks him how the hell is he still alive, and when Ein tells him that he simply defeated the monsters, he refuses to believe that. The other adventurers tell Zord that he should be happy because his savior is alive, but Ein tells them that he was lying just now. He reveals that Zord and Jeline paralyzed him with magic and left him to die at the hands of the monsters. This makes all the adventurers furious, and they start throwing anything they can grab at Zord. However, Ein stops them, because despite everything, Zord was the only person who took him in his party. He thanks the asshole for everything and then walks away, surprising everyone in the inn because his personality has done a 180. After that, Ein, Yuri, and Ursula begin to explore different dungeons, defeating the boss monsters and absorbing the dungeon core. They keep looking for the world tree inside those dungeons, but even after a couple months, they can't find anything. As they are returning from one such dungeon trip, they hear some screams and immediately rush to the scene to find some monsters attacking a carriage. Ein quickly kills the monsters and absorbs their abilities, while Yuri and Ursula heal the injured soldiers. Ein then goes to check on a pink-haired girl in the carriage, who falls in love with him at first sight and clings to him, calling him the hero. Ein is confused and embarrassed by this, but then he learns that the girl is Claudia, the third princess of the kingdom, and the man with her is Jasper, the leader of the merchant guild. The princess invites Ein and his group to her palace to thank them, and after that, she gets ready to pounce on him. However, Yuri gets in between them and declares that she is Ein's wife. Ein is shocked to hear that, but the greater shock comes when Claudia casually says that she is happy to become his second wife. As the two girls fight over that topic, the merchant Jasper comes to Ein and says that he should marry him instead. Ein freaks out at this because he never thought he would be equally attractive to men and women, but Jasper says that he has some special reason for that. He then leads Ein and others to his treasury, explaining that he likes to collect valuable gemstones, and Ein's left eye is a spirit core, the most valuable of them all. Ein is shocked to learn that Jasper has found out his secret, and then the merchant tells him the legend about the original world tree exhausting all its power to seal the demon lord and then vanishing from the earth. He says that he has been looking for its spirit core for years, and now that he has found it, he wants to keep it with him forever. Ein wants to refuse him because he is straighter than a ruler, but Ursula tells him that Jasper has money and also information about the world tree, so he can use his help to find other world trees. Ein reluctantly agrees to get close to him, but says that they will only be friends in the beginning. Jasper has no problem with that, and he tells Ein that one day he will surely be a proud member of his harem. Soon, Ein, Yuri, and Ursula go to a hidden dungeon that Jasper told them about in hopes that they will find Yuri's sisters there. Ein enters the dungeon alone and soon runs into a dead end. Ursula tells him that there is a teleportation spell on the wall and he can activate it by touching it. Just as Ein touches the teleportation spell, he finds himself in a huge forest. He freaks out on seeing a forest within a dungeon, and Ursula says that it seems that a powerful illusion has changed the appearance of the dungeon. Ein thinks that the only thing powerful enough to create an illusion of this scale is a world tree when he hears a voice out of nowhere. Yuri recognizes the voice as her mischievous sister Pina's, and she comes out of Ein's eye to talk to her. Pina says that she is glad to see her sister again and asks her to meet her at the end of the dungeon. Ein complains to the mischievous Loli that Yuri came all the way here to meet her, and she should use teleportation magic to bring them to her place immediately. Pina tells him that she can't use teleportation magic, so they will have to walk through the forest, and Yuri is ready for that. Pina tells her that she should just sit back and let her boyfriend do the hard work, and Yuri starts blushing on hearing that. Ein also tells her to get back inside his eye because the forest can be dangerous and he will clear it faster by himself. Pina mocks his confidence, telling him that she has put hundreds of dangerous traps all over the forest in addition to ferocious monsters, and no human can cross it. Ein says that they will see about it and walks straight ahead. With Ursula analyzing the situation through his right eye, he gets accurate information about the traps and how to dodge them, and he does a speedrun through the forest, frustrating the Loli. She tells Ein to at least pretend to struggle because she worked hard to set up those traps. Yuri also tells him that Pina enjoys creating things and entertaining people with them, and he replies that this entertainment can take someone's life. Pina just tells him that she is not a murderer, and she sends people outside before they get in serious danger. She then says that strong monsters are going to come next and urges Ein to give up. He declares that he won't stop at anything to make Yuri happy, and just then an S-rank plant monster appears in front of him. The monster attacks him with sleeping pollen, but Ein has all ailment resistance, and he doesn't even feel drowsy, frustrating Pina. He summons his sword and then kills the plant monster in one hit and then appraises it to get its skills. He learns that using the unique skill of the plant monster, he can generate seeds of all kinds of plants. Ein thinks it is a useful skill when suddenly something hits his head. He wonders what is happening and why he can't spot the attacker, and Ursula tells him that they are using the stealth skill. However, Pina is flabbergasted because Ein is still standing despite taking a headshot. He tells her that he has surprise attack nullification, so he won't take any damage from these attacks, and that pisses her off even further. To top that off, Ursula manages to locate the monsters attacking Ein, and he uses gravity magic to crush them to death instantly. The stealth ants turn visible after they die, and he uses appraisal skill to copy their stealth skill as well as explosive leaping power. Pina starts crying because nothing is working on him, but she regains confidence as she sends two S-rank monsters to attack him at the same time. Ein just uses his super speed to kill them both with one strike, and when Pina learns that he is just an appraiser despite being so strong, she gives up. On the other hand, Zord, the swordsman from Ein's previous party, is at rock bottom. Everyone avoids him at the guild, and even Jeline starts acting like she was innocent, and he forced her to paralyze Ein. The simps from the guild trust Jeline and kick Zord out, saying that no one will ever form a party with him again. Zord gets enraged at this, and he curses Ein for surviving because if he had died peacefully, this would not happen. He decides to clear a high difficulty quest to clear his bad reputation, and goes on a quest to hunt a C-rank monster in the same dungeon that hides the entrance to Pina's dungeon. As he accidentally touches the teleportation spell in the wall, he finds himself in the forest and decides to search for some strong monsters here. However, he immediately walks into a trap, but just as he is about to hit the spikes below and see God, he is teleported back to the previous dungeon. Suddenly, he hears Pina's voice, telling him that he won't die in her dungeon and she will teleport him out right before anything serious happens, so he should feel free to try it any time. Zord thinks that this is his chance to grow stronger and reclaim his honor. He enters the dungeon again and again, getting injured by the traps but not giving up. He soon finds a giant crocodile monster in front of him, and blinded by the greed of glory, he attacks it. However, the monster is too strong for him, and it sends him rolling with just a light tap. Pina tells him to give up, and she will return him to the other dungeon, but he refuses. The monster suddenly stomps on his injured arm, crushing it, and Zord cries in pain. The monster attacks him, and he braces for his death. But then suddenly, Ein arrives there and kills the giant crocodile with one swing of his sword. Zord can only see his back right now, so he thinks that he must be a high-ranking adventurer with a rare job class, but as he sees that it is Ein, he is lost for words. He asks him what the hell is he doing here, and how did a garbage picker like him one-shot such a powerful monster? Ein says that he is just warming up and then notices Zord's injuries. He asks Yuri for help and splashes her holy water on Zord's injuries, completely healing him. This makes the even more confused, but before he can ask any questions, Ein puts him to sleep with magic and tells Pina to send him out. After that, he resumes his speedrun and reaches the boss room. Pina tells him that she is waiting beyond the boss room, and Ein gets worried that if he defeats the boss, The way to the World Tree will be permanently closed. Ursula tells him that it won't happen as long as the dungeon core is intact, and Ein heads in. He finds that there is a forest inside the boss room as well. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and he quickly takes to the sky to see a giant turtle rising out of the ground. He freaks out on seeing it, but Ursula tells him to stop being a bitch. He attacks the turtle with fireballs, but they don't do any damage, and then the turtle shoots a powerful water blast at him. Ein uses super appraisal to slow down time, and then uses the parry skill to return the water blast to the turtle. But surprisingly, its own attack doesn't damage it as well. Ein suddenly realizes the trick behind it, and he goes in front of the boss monster and gets under its stomping feet intentionally. However, the attack didn't even touch him at all, and now he is certain that the giant turtle is just an illusion. He uses a skill to dispel the illusion and reveals that the boss monster was actually a tiny and adorable turtle monster. Ursula compliments Ein for figuring this out on her own, because even she couldn't see through the powerful illusion. Ein then picks up the baby turtle and appraises it to find that it is the child of one of the 4 mythic beasts of creation. And Ursula freaks out on seeing the description because the 4 mythic beasts are almost on the same level as the original World Tree. After that, Ein turns to Pina, asking if he needs to defeat the adorable baby turtle to clear the trial because he has already won. She tells him that he needs to defeat it since it is the boss, but Ein and the baby turtle give her the innocent puppy eyes and she folds. She allows Ein and others to come to her location, and then the 2 sisters have an emotional reunion. Pina then quickly gets to business and asks Yuri if she can also come with her, because she has grown bored of staying inside the dungeon. Ein has no issue with that because that means another girl in his group and more power to his left eye, so he immediately agrees. After that, the baby turtle climbs down from Ein's shoulder and transforms into a girl. She introduces herself as Kuroheim, Pina's guardian, and the daughter of the divine beast Genbu. Ein freaks out on seeing this, but the one who is more shocked is Ursula, who goes into the attention position and begins talking to Kuro like she is the strictest teacher in the school. Ein doesn't understand what is going on, and then Ursula tells him to take Kuro's permission before taking Pina out. He kneels before Kuro to ask for permission, and she gladly agrees. She presents a sage stone to Ein because she also wants to come with him and see the world. Soon, Ursula processes The next day, the merchant Jasper takes Ein to the Adventurers Guild. Ein is nervous about being there with a big shot like him because he fears people will think that he is a femboy who sold his dignity to the rich sugar daddy. However, Jasper tells him to be more confident in himself because they will show everyone his true worth. Soon, the receptionist comes there and greets Jasper with great enthusiasm. She is about to call the guild master to see him, but Jasper says that he doesn't have any official business with the guild today, and he is here just to buy the items that his friend is going to sell to the guild. The receptionist asks for Ein's adventurer license, and when she finds that he is an F-rank appraiser, she lashes out at him, saying that there is no way in hell that he can hunt monsters. The rest of the people in the building also start mocking Ein, thinking that he was trying to scam Jasper. Ein grows nervous on hearing everyone's taunts, but Jasper tells him to show them what he is packing. He brings out all the rare monster drops from his infinite storage, and everyone is dumbfounded to see the items they have only heard about. They don't believe that an appraiser can collect them on his own, and they start accusing Ein of stealing them. He starts feeling his self-esteem sink lower than Titanic and regrets coming to the guild. Just then, a tomboy mommy comes there and tells everyone to shut up because no one should be judged based on their job. They recognize her as the guildmaster Megan and fall silent before her. The tomboy mommy immediately realizes that something about Ein's eyes is special, and in the meantime, the receptionist has verified that all the items he has brought are real. Jasper declares that Ein hunted all those monsters by himself, and he personally guarantees that. The receptionist immediately begs for Ein's forgiveness, and even Megan tells him to spare the girl for judging him based on his job. Ein feels good after hearing that, and as he thanks her with a smile, the mommy takes a liking to him. She tells him that he looks cute and she would love to have him as her boy toy. But Ein panics because he has no idea how to reply to her. Megan tells him to think about her offer because they are going to see each other often after this anyway, and then heads back to her office. The receptionist tells Ein to wait while she gets an estimate for his loot's value. But then Jasper tells him to bring out the items from the hidden dungeon too. The adventurers freak out on hearing that Ein has cleared a hidden dungeon, and they start treating him like a celebrity. But he hates attention and immediately runs away. Later, as he is relaxing in a hot bath, Yuri suddenly appears next to him, and this incel freaks out because he has never seen a girl in her birthday suit before. Pina also follows her older sister and comes out, teasing Ein that his third leg is reacting to Yuri. She starts teasing Yuri too, but then Ursula comes there and almost blows Ein into pieces with her powerful magic for setting his dirty eyes on her daughter's body. Ein immediately rushes outside to avoid further embarrassment, and he finds Kiro relaxing there. She thanks Ein for taking her and Pina along with him, because she has not seen the girl look so happy in a very long time. He replies that he is going to find the remaining 6 sisters as well, but Kiro gets gloomy as she tells him that there are 7. Ein is shocked to hear that, and Kiro explains that the oldest world tree vanished from the world, but its spirit core was not completely destroyed. She is sure that Echidna, the spirit of the world tree, is alive with her guardian somewhere, but they have no idea where to find her. The next day, Ein wakes up in a good mood and decides to resume his search for other world trees. He goes to Jasper's office to talk to him, and to his surprise, Mommy Megan is also there with a special quest for him. She tells Ein that his mission is to take down Behemoth, a monstrous dragon that was created by the Demon Lord long ago. When the Demon Lord vanished, Behemoth vanished with him too, but recently it has appeared again. Megan tells Ein that she wants him to defeat the SS rank monster, and Jasper clarifies that this mission could cost him his life. Both of them say that they will understand if Ein doesn't want to take this risky mission, but he has no hesitation in accepting it to help them out. Megan thanks him and says that she will be wishing for his success. The next day, Ein goes to the location where Behemoth was spotted, and Ursula tells him that the monster is an ancient earth dragon that can absorb mana and fire bullets that can tear through space. She tells Ein that Behemoth hides under the sand in the daytime and asks him to bring him out. Ein summons his sword and then uses his ultimate spell to create a giant crater in the ground. The angry dragon comes out of it and asks who dared to disturb his sleep. He looks at Ein, who appears weak, but he was able to cast a strong magic spell just now. Behemoth recalls how he was up ever since he was born because the Demon Lord created him that way. He has always tried to find someone who can provide him with an entertaining fight, and he sees some hope in the boy in front of him. He asks Ein who is he, and he introduces himself as the man who is going to kill him. Behemoth laughs, saying that he is the strongest monster created by the Demon King. Ein says that he can defeat the Demon King as well because he shouldn't be that strong either. The dragon could take any insult, but it doesn't tolerate a human throwing shade on his master. He begins shooting the magic bullets at Ein, who quickly dodges them all. Ein then rushes towards Behemoth, slashing his arm with his blade. The dragon can't believe that his tough scales were cut this easily, and he decides to change his fighting style and goes underground. He surfaces right under Ein and swallows him whole, confident that this is enough to win the fight. However, the very next moment, his mouth explodes into hundreds of pieces, and despite that, the Behemoth retains his consciousness. He realizes that this is his first and final defeat, and he should not have underestimated his opponent just because he was a human. Behemoth asks Ein how did he defeat him, and he reveals that he fired his ultimate spell inside its body. He explains that he had already analyzed him before the match began and found that the dragon can absorb mana through its tough scales. That meant attacking it from the inside would be much more effective. Ein also tells Behemoth that he put up a barrier before firing his ultimate spell to protect himself from the damage. The monster dragon realizes that he stood no chance against Ein, and he tells him that he fought well. Slowly, his soul turns into smoke and leaves the fragmented remains of his body, and then Ein appraises his skills to copy them. He gets a bunch of SS rank skills including magic attack nullification, vacuum, and earth manipulation. A couple days after this, Ein and Yuri visit the royal palace on the invitation of Princess Claudia, who has already decided that she is Ein's second wife without his permission. He tries to snap this idiot out of her delulu, but she tells him that she invited him here to meet her dad. Ein freaks out as the king suddenly enters the room, and he stammers like a goat while trying to introduce himself. Despite his stern appearance, the king is a Pookie, and he has also accepted Ein as his son-in-law without Ein's permission. The king thanks Ein for defeating the Behemoth and also for saving his daughter the other day. He bows before him, and the nervous Ein asks him to thank Yuri instead because without her, he would not be able to do a single thing right. The king expresses his gratitude to Yuri, and then tells Ein that he will be looking forward to the achievements he accomplishes in future. He decides to leave for work after that, but before going, he gives Ein a silver watch with the royal emblem that will give him unrestricted access to any place he wants to go. Though Ein thinks it is too much, he accepts the watch because it can help him find more information about Yuri's family. Meanwhile, the story about Ein defeating the behemoth has been spreading in the city, and everyone has started to look up to him. Everyone except Zord, who is being treated like garbage by everyone. He is jealous of Ein for becoming famous and strong so quickly and blames him for his misfortunes. Zord knows that he can only swallow his rage because he can't do anything against Ein right now. But then a tanned mommy appears before him and introduces herself as a spirit named Echidna, and says that she can give him the power he needs to get his revenge. On the other hand, Ein finds himself in a nightmare about his past. He sees Zord treating him like shit, and he acts like a loser who takes insults with a smile. He tries to yell at his past self inside the dream, but obviously, he can't hear anything. Suddenly, he sees a pack of hellhounds eating his body, and that makes him shiver in fear as he realizes that he could have ended up like this. Suddenly, his half-eaten body starts crawling towards him, telling him that he survived only because he had plot armor. He says that Ein is a total loser who would have died helplessly if he had not stumbled on the world tree by chance, and even though he is proud of his fake strength right now, nothing changes the fact that he is weak and useless inside. Ein begins screaming as he hears this, and his dream abruptly ends. Ursula is sitting next to him and she asks if he is fine. Ein finally gets back to his senses and asks where are they. She tells him that he collapsed after the meeting with the king because of exhaustion and has been sleeping ever since. Ursula complains that Yuri has been worried about him, and Ein immediately asks her where is she right now. She replies that Yuri and Pina have gone for a walk in the city to change their mood, and Ein gets worried. Ursula tells him that there is not going to be any problem because she is tracking Yuri in real time, and if anything happens, she can just teleport next to her. Ein then starts telling Ursula about the bad dream he had, and he gaslights himself into thinking that his dream self was saying the right thing. He believes that he only became so strong because of his luck that brought him to Yuri, but deep down, he is still the same trash who is good for nothing. On the other hand, Zord is trying to comprehend the offer of the tanned mommy Echidna, unable to believe that there is a way to fight against Ein. Echidna tells him that Ein became so strong without even working hard because of the spirit eye. Zord believes her and starts cursing Ein for cheating to become strong, and Echidna laughs, offering him the same power. Zord gets excited on hearing this and says that he wants the spirit's eye too, and Echidna summons a corrupted version of the evil eye. She inserts it into Zord's forehead, and he starts screaming as he transforms into a demon. Echidna is pleased by this result, and she creepily licks her lips as she tells Zord to go and get his revenge. Zord roars loudly and leaps high into the sky, feeling incredibly fast and strong. He leaps over the rooftops when he suddenly spots Jeline with her new boyfriend. He decides to get even with this first and immediately jumps in front of her. Her boyfriend tries to protect her from the green monster, but Zord wastes no time and immediately bites off his head. Jeline is aghast and devastated on seeing this, and as she hears Zord's voice, she recognizes him. She realizes that he is here for revenge, and immediately tries to calm him down. She apologizes profusely, saying that she will tell the guild that she cast the paralysis spell on Ein of her own will. Zord doesn't seem convinced with that, so the desperate Jeline says that she will do whatever he wants her to, but he simply chomps her head too. He starts wreaking havoc on the city, destroying buildings and injuring innocent bystanders. Luckily, Yuri and Pina are nearby, and Yuri uses her healing abilities to help the injured. Echidna senses her, and she uses telepathy to tell Zord to stop playing with the common people and target the spirits instead, because if he kills them, Ein won't be able to use their power. Zord likes the idea, and he immediately reaches behind Yuri to attack her. Yuri is too terrified to even move, but Pina creates a barrier around Zord at the last moment, protecting her sister. She takes Yuri's hand and starts running away while Zord tries to break the barrier with his punches. Echidna tells him that his punches won't break the barrier and tells him to use the special power contained in his spirit eye. Zord channels the anti-spirit power from the eye, and a dark aura surrounds his arm, allowing him to shatter the barrier with just one hit. He then leaps towards Yuri and Pina and catches up to them in no time. Pina uses another barrier to stop him, but using his anti-spirit power, Zord breaks the barrier and sends her flying. Pina is shocked and terrified to see her barrier being shattered so easily, and she gives up hope. Suddenly, Yuri steps in front of her, telling her to run away. Zord grabs her quickly and begins squeezing her while telling her to blame Ein for her death. Yuri calls Ein to help her as Zord tries to attack her, but the next moment, Ein teleports there and slashes Zord to rescue his girl. Ursula arrives there a split second later, and Ein tells everyone to get inside his eye while he deals with the monster. He tries appraising him, but doesn't get any clear information about him, other than the fact that he is an artificially formed chimera. Ursula tries to appraise Zord as well, but she can't find anything either because Echidna has used a high-level concealment spell on him. Zord then charges at Ein, who easily parries him and sends him crashing into a nearby house. Zord comes out of the roof and begins overwhelming him with his quick attacks, and when Ein uses a barrier, he shatters it with ease. Ein doesn't understand what is going on, but then Zord asks him if this is all he has got. Ein recognizes his voice and Zord tells him that he also evolved after obtaining the power of the Spirit Eye. Ein is even more confused now, and using this chance, Zord launches another round of attacks and pushes him back. They get on a rooftop and Zord tells Ein that he feels like he is on the top of the world with this power. He points at Jeline and her boyfriend's corpses, saying that he got revenge on those who mocked him. He tells Ein that they are both the same, and he must also want to get revenge on him for everything he has done. Ein tells him that they are not the same and he doesn't want revenge, but then the personification of his insecurities and negative emotions appears behind him and asks him to stop lying. He tells Ein to give in to his hatred and get his revenge, and Ein shuts his ears to stop his voice from reaching his ears. At the same time, Zord keeps insulting him and Ein is pushed into a corner. Suddenly, Yuri comes out and tells Zord to shut the hell up because Ein is nothing like him. She says that Ein is strong and kind, and he will never stoop low enough to dream of revenge. Ursula also comes out and tells Ein to believe in himself because he has grown strong, not just physically but mentally too. She tells him that he may have got some abilities and powers because of Yuri, but he always had the courage and kindness to move forward despite all odds. Yuri also tells him that she trusts in him, and motivated by her words, Ein decides to face his insecurities head-on. He declares that he will live up to Yuri's expectations no matter what, and goes Super Saiyan, releasing a huge amount of golden mana that burns away his insecurities and negative emotions. Even Zord is taken aback by this burst of mana, and Ursula tells Ein that he has finally stopped doubting himself, and now he can use the full power of the spirit. Zord says that this will not stop him from killing Ein, and immediately leaps towards him. Ein remains completely still till the last moment, and then hits Zord with a counter-punch that sends his pathetic ass crashing into the road. Zord can't accept this, but Ein is already walking towards him with the sad expression of pity on his face. Zord rushes to attack him out of frustration, and Ein summons a barrier that stops his dark power. Ursula tells Zord that he received only a small amount of power from the spirit behind him, and he can't beat Ein in his present condition. Zord yells at Echidna to give him more power, and she gladly does so, mutating him even further. Zord tells Ein that he is the strongest now and dashes towards him, but Ein summons his sword and hits the poor bastard with a powerful slash, destroying his body and the corrupted spirit eye. However, Zord survives the attack somehow and soon, the guards come and arrest him. Ein watches him being taken away and thinks that someone used his weakness and desperation against him. He begins wondering who is behind this and why they are doing this, but there are no hints to even look for an answer. Later that night, Echidna collects the broken part of the corrupted spirit eye, which was actually a recording device to gather data about Ein's power and skills. She is impressed by his abilities and also disappointed that he intentionally held back his power to not kill Zord. However, she has sealed Zord's memories so that he doesn't reveal anything about her to the cops. Echidna then heads back to her base, promising the Demon Lord that she is going to revive him at any cost. The next day, as Ein is drinking tea, Yuri suddenly approaches him with a request. She fidgets around in excitement and embarrassment as she asks Ein to kiss him, and this incel starts sweating because he has never even kissed a girl in his dreams. He asks Yuri to stop teasing him, but she insists that she is serious because this is the ritual for the contract between a spirit and her guardian. Just then, Ursula pops up behind the couch, and though she is really not happy about it, she affirms that Yuri is saying the truth. She explains that until now, Ein was a guardian in training, and his connection with Yuri was unstable, causing his mana to be either too strong or too weak, and that put a lot of strain on Yuri. Ursula tells him that now that he is awakened, he should form a contract with her to stabilize their connections, and Ein understands. He thinks that kissing her on the back of her hand will be enough for the contract. But then Pina and Kiro also come there and tell Ein to go for a good old smooch with some tongue action. He tells them to watch that and more on his OnlyFans for just $39 a month, and then Ursula scolds them, telling them to give Ein and Yuri some privacy. Everyone leaves the room with that, and Yuri closes her eyes as she gets ready for the kiss. Ein is shocked because she is really going to give him the smooch, and he excitedly walks towards her. Unfortunately, he trips on John Cena's leg, and instead of going for the lips, he accidentally kisses Yuri on the forehead. That is enough to form the contract, and Ein levels up, while Yuri starts melting with pure joy. On the other hand, Echidna goes to the demon realm and visits a high-ranking crow demon named Falco. She tells him that she has orders for him directly from the demon lord, who wants him to kill Ein. Falco is not interested in handling a mere human personally, and even when Echidna tells him that he defeated Behemoth, he is not convinced. So Echidna uses her charms to seduce him, and like a beta simp, Falco promises her that he will quickly finish Ein. He immediately creates a portal to the human world and flies towards Ein's house at full speed. He is confident that his super speed will give him an easy victory, but apparently Ein has sensed him approaching, and he comes out of his room to talk with him. Falco stops in front of him and then begins to introduce himself proudly, but Ein asks him to be quiet because everyone else is sleeping. Falco is pissed at this, and he charges ahead at full speed, but for Ein, he is moving really slow. Ein just bitch slaps him away and then reaches next to him within a second. He hits Falco with the vacuum bullets to finish him, and then absorbs his wind control and super speed abilities. As he wonders why was the demon targeting him, Yuri and others appear in front of him because the sound of the fighting woke them up. The next morning, Ein goes to the Forbidden Library in the Royal Palace to learn more about hidden dungeons. Princess Claudia is there to welcome and guide him, and thanks to the royal watch that the king gave him, Ein has no problem reaching the library. However, Claudia tells him that only those who have the permission of the king and the librarian can enter the Forbidden Library. She asks Ein to try entering through the door, and he is able to do it without any issue. But when Yuri tries following him, she hits an invisible wall. Ursula teleports next to her and finds that the wall is strong enough to keep her out too, and it has also disturbed the connection between Ein and Yuri. Ein is worried now, but he decides to go ahead and find what he needs quickly. Once he reaches the main building, he finds there are too many books there, and he has no idea how to find the one he needs. Suddenly, he sees a girl falling to the ground, and he quickly leaps into action to save her. The girl is really flustered as she thanks him, and Ein asks her how did she fall. She says that she was reading a book at the top of the library, and she was so busy in it that she didn't even notice she was falling. She then uses magic to put her book back in its place and introduces herself as Alice, the librarian. She tells him that she knows the location of each book in this place, and Ein asks if she can help him too. He says that he wants a book on hidden dungeons so that he can reunite a special person in his life with her family. Alice suddenly gets a bit sad on hearing this, and after she gives the book to Ein, she asks him how is Yuri doing. He gets surprised that she knows about Yuri, and Alice tells him that she is also one of the World Tree Spirits, and she can see Yuri's spirit core in Ein's eye. Ein is shocked to hear that, and just then, Alice's guardian Eike comes there and begins scolding her for not informing her that they have a guest. Ein and Eike immediately hit it off, and then he tells Alice that her sisters are waiting outside for her. Eike quickly tells him that it is impossible for them to come inside and meet Alice. She explains that this library is not inside the royal palace, but it is a hidden dungeon that can be accessed through a portal which is the Forbidden Library's gate. She says that the portal has some serious restrictions on it, so it only allows humans who have been approved by the king and Alice to enter. There is an ancient contract between the World Tree Spirit and this library that benefits both of them, and if Yuri or Pina enter here forcefully, the contract would be broken. Eike tells Ein that the only way he can get his girls here and make them meet Alice is to find the hidden dungeon's location and clear it properly. Ein suggests that he can take Alice out instead, but Akka says that it won't happen either. She says that Alice is a weakling who can't fight, and she doesn't have any intention of leaving this place either. Alice gets gloomy on hearing this and Ein approaches her, knowing that she is scared of going out into the unknown world. He tells her that he used to be like that too, but with the support of Yuri and others, he became strong and more confident. He promises Alice that if she wants to see the world, he will protect her from everything and support her in any way possible. Alice gets flustered on hearing that, and then Ein tells her that he will see her again tomorrow after he finds an entrance to the dungeon. The next day, as Eka is grooming Alice, she asks her if she wants to go outside. She knows that Alice is scared, but it is really easy to read her face to tell that she likes Ein. Alice tells her that she fell in love with Ein at first sight, and everything that happened was exactly like the books she read. However, she is still not confident if she should go out, and Aka encourages her to take the leap of faith. She asks her to trust Ein and go with him, because even if things don't work out well, she can always return home. Just then, Ein enters the library through the royal palace because he couldn't find the entrance to the hidden dungeon in the book. Aka pats Alice on the back as she tells her to put her faith in Ein, and the shy girl asks him to take her to the outside world. Ein immediately lifts her in his arms and then leaps as high as he can, exiting the library and coming out in the hidden dungeon over it. Aka also follows him there, and she gives Ein Alice's spirit core so that she can come along with him, and creates a clone to accompany him since she can't teleport like Ursula. With that, Ein and the girls begin exploring the hidden dungeon, and he has to carry Alice on his back half the way because of her poor stamina. He fights off the monsters in the dungeon even without Ursula's backup, and though he has some trouble fighting against the samurai boss, he defeats him too. With that, they reach the exit, and Alice looks a bit upset because she thinks Ein won't carry her once they are outside. He tells her that she can always ask him to carry her, and seeing Alice so happy, Aka begins fangirling over their budding romance. Soon, they reach Ein's home and Yuri runs to hug Alice, but she just pushes her away because she doesn't like people touching her. On the other hand, Ursula gets stiff in front of Aka because she is also her senior in the Guardian hierarchy. After that, Yuri hugs Ein for bringing her elder sister outside, and that makes Alice jealous. Pina notices this, and to tempt Alice into taking action, she hugs Ein tightly too. She says that his right arm is still free, and before Yuri can take it, Alice jumps in and clings to it. Pina begins teasing her about that, and Ein realizes that his life is going to get tougher because of his harem of the World Tree spirits and their moms. To escape them, Ein runs off to the sauna, but all these shameless b****s follow him there too. They keep asking Ein if he likes Alice, and no matter how hard he tries, he cannot run away from them. Coincidentally, Ursula is the only one on his side, and she tells everyone that they can't ask such private questions to anyone. Ein thanks her for saving him from one trouble, but there is another trouble waiting for him. He fears that being surrounded by all these steamy beauties will make his world tree rise up. He tells the girls that he can't take the heat anymore and tries leaving the sauna room when Alice suddenly falls on top of him. He finds that she is having a hard time too, and tells her that she doesn't need to force herself to stay here. Alice tells him that she will do whatever it takes to stay with him from now on, but her sisters think she is talking to them, and they immediately cling to her, saying that they will go on adventures together from now on. Their guardians know that the girls just blocked their sister's confession, but they don't really want to bother too much with that. In the meantime, Ein goes to Ursula and asks her to insert Alice's spirit core into his eye. She agrees, and then Aka gives him her sage stone as well so that he can use her powers. Ursula makes Ein absorb both of them. Alice begins walking towards Ein after that, but she slips, and in the attempt to break her fall, she grabs Ein's pants and pulls them down, revealing his miracle wood. The next day, Ein goes to meet with Jasper and Mommy Megan, who tell him that they have a direct request from the king that only he can fulfill. They tell him that the request involves demons who were banished from the human realm forever by the hero who created a dimensional barrier to stop them from ever returning. However, recently some demons have started attacking a territory called Rashik, and no ordinary adventurer can fight them. Jasper and Megan ask Ein to take care of the demons before they hurt more humans. He immediately calls a meeting with his harem and decides to take on the request. Meanwhile, in the Rashik territory, a group of people are heading towards a Stonehenge. A cheerful girl named Mia asks her dad where they are going, and he nervously tells her that he is taking her to meet her mother who is in heaven. They stop in front of the Stonehenge, and then everyone falls to their knees when a Hydra demon comes out of the stone circle. Mia's dad tells her to go ahead because the Hydra will take her to her mom, thinking that she has no idea about her fate. However, Mia knows that she is going to be killed, but she still goes ahead bravely to sacrifice herself for the rest of the villagers. Just as she is about to be eaten, her dad has a change of heart and he pleads with the Hydra to eat him and spare his daughter. The Hydra reminds the villagers that according to their deal, it needs 1 woman per month, and in exchange, their village stays safe. He tells the humans that they will be punished for trying to break the contract and breathes out poison to knock them all out. Mia is the only one not affected by it, and she cries for help as the Hydra tries eating her. Suddenly, Ein arrives there to save the day and protects the girl with his barrier. Ursula warns him to be careful because the Hydra is an SS rank monster with powerful poison. Ein tells Yuri to save everyone from the Hydra's poison first, and she manages to cure them in one attempt because her powers have leveled up along with Ein's eye. After that, Ein tells the villagers to run away because he will deal with the Hydra, but no one thinks he can do anything. Ein simply draws his sword and slashes the Hydra into hundreds of pieces, shocking all the villagers. Some of them identify him as the hero who slayed the ancient dragon, and while Ursula appraises the Hydra's abilities, the villagers thank Ein for saving their lives. He asks them to lead him to the lord of this region, and the villagers suddenly become gloomy. They tell Ein that though he saved them from the Hydra, it would have been better if he had let them die. They walk away with that, but Ein is determined to meet the lord and see what is wrong with this place. He soon reaches the grand mansion of the lord, and decides to confront him about misusing his wealth for show when his people are starving. He enters the mansion and loudly asks if anyone is home. The lord of the region, Nigun, comes out to greet him, and he turns out to be a total clumsy idiot. As they have tea, Ein tells Nigun that he is here to do something about the demons attacking this region. Nigun calmly tells him that there are no demons nearby, and the reports made to the guild must have been exaggerated because there are too many monsters in this region. Ein says that he would still like to stay over for a few days and patrol the region at night to be sure. He then informs Nigun that he killed a Hydra on his way here, and hearing that suddenly changes the personality of the lord. He drops his cup in shock on learning that the Hydra is dead, and asks Ein how could he kill it when it was the only thing keeping the monsters of the forest from attacking the village. He begins lashing at Ein, saying that without the Hydra to protect their border, the monsters from the forest will start attacking them again. Ein complains that it was unfair to make a deal with the Hydra because it was asking for sacrifices, and Nigun says that it was no big deal to sacrifice one person for the sake of the entire territory. He tells Ein that he will just kill a few monsters and return home, but the people of his territory are going to suffer because of his actions. He angrily walks out of the room, and Ein is left confused about what to do now. He leaves the mansion, while Nigun goes to talk to his reflection in a magic mirror. He calls his reflection Shadow, and panics as he explains that Ein has killed the Hydra. Shadow tells Nigun that they can easily find another monster to replace the Hydra, but their main problem is Ein. He tells the gullible noble that Ein is a demon, because no human can kill an SS rank monster like a Hydra, and if they want to protect their territory, they must kill him. Nigun believes in him and goes ahead to arrange for Ein's death, and Shadow laughs, saying that humans are easy to manipulate, and after a bit more groundwork, he will come out of the mirror and possess Nigun's body. On the other hand, Ein finds that the village wall is damaged terribly and there are no guards stationed there at all. He tries asking the villagers about Nigun, but as soon as they hear his name, they run away. Ein realizes that everyone is afraid of Nigun, and he tries to find any clue that can help him. He soon finds a disheartened man sitting by himself and staring at his field that was ravaged by monsters as soon as the Hydra died. He tells Ein to return where he came from because people like him can't help them at all. Ein takes that personally, and he immediately uses his magic to prepare the field and then plants magic seeds to grow vegetables instantly. Next, he uses earth magic to create a thick and tall wall around the area to keep the monsters out. The farmer is shocked to see this, and Ein tells him that it is too soon for him to give up on his life. He asks him to let him help this village, and the man starts laughing because his words remind him of Nigun's father, the previous lord. The man says that the former lord was a kind and brave person, but the moment he died and his son took over, things went to hell. As soon as Nigun came to power, the Hydra appeared, and he made a contract with it without considering anything else. He cut down their defense budget and raised taxes to the absolute limit, and everyone who protested against it was never seen again. That made everyone lose hope, but now the farmer says that he believes in the future again because of Ein. Ein gets emotional on hearing this, but then suddenly Alice's abilities awaken, and he sees that a huge horde of monsters is approaching the village. Yuri comes out to ask him if everything is alright, and he tells her that he is going to defeat all the monsters so that not a single one can harm the village. Ein jumps on the wall to see thousands of monsters running towards the village, and he panics, realizing that this is not going to be easy even for him. As he gets down, Yuri appears behind him, asking what are they going to do now, and Ein has no idea. However, as he sees the villagers losing hope, he decides to give everything he has got to protect their lives. He tells Yuri to get in his eye and then jumps high in the air, releasing a giant vacuum bullet in hope to kill some monsters and scare the rest. However, that doesn't work, and the monsters keep rushing towards the village. Some of them suddenly leap towards Ein, and though he dodges their initial attacks, these monkey-like monsters are much more agile than he thought. They grab hands mid-air and yeet each other towards Ein with greater speed, and he activates his super appraise skill to see them in slow-mo and then defeats them with his powerful attacks. Next, he creates a barrier to contain some monsters and kills them all with vacuum bullets, but some monsters sneak behind him. Ein uses another skill to create his clones behind the monsters, and then uses steel threads to chop them up. The villagers who are running away from the monsters stop and stare at Ein in awe because they can't believe he is facing all these monsters on his own, but they don't know that he is pushing his limits. Ursula warns him that if he keeps fighting like this, he will collapse, but Ein is determined to protect all the villagers. He summons his sword and takes his stance to unleash a wide-range attack that will deal with all the monsters at once. But Ursula tells him to stop because at this rate, his body won't hold much longer. Ein refuses to give up even as the monsters gang up on him, and then draws his sword with full power, releasing a slash that kills all the monsters in one go. However, he has reached his limit with that, and he collapses to the ground just as Yuri comes out of his eye. She begins healing him with her holy water, but Ein has damaged himself so badly that even the holy water takes some time to restore him. As soon as he feels better, Ein gets up to thank Yuri, but instead of seeing her, he sees the girl Mia jumping at him, calling him God. The rest of the villagers are there too, and they thank Ein for saving them yet again. However, the farmer Ein helped earlier has something else on his mind. He begins asking his friends how long they are going to live in the shadow of fear. He says that they put their lives in the hands of Nigun, and in the end, they were forced to make human sacrifices to the Hydra. They could never do anything to make their situation better, and even when Ein fought thousands of monsters on his own, they just watched him from the sidelines. The man inspires the villagers to take responsibility for their lives in their own hands, and everyone joins him with great enthusiasm. Ein is moved to see this, and he begins telling Yuri that this is just like the time she saved him. That time, she protected his dignity and gave him the courage to live his life on his own terms. And now that he did the same to the villagers, he feels that he has become a great person like her. The nosy villagers interrupt their moment by saying that they will never let Nigun boss them again, and just then, Nigun arrives there, asking if they were talking about him. The villagers freak out on seeing him, but their leader clearly tells him that they will follow Ein instead of him because he was the one who saved them. Nigun just scoffs at this and confidently tells the villagers that Ein is fooling them. He claims that Ein is a demon, and he set up the monster attack so that he could brainwash everyone and take control of this region. However, the villagers refuse to believe him, and they say that even if Ein is a demon, they will be happy to let him rule them rather than an incompetent loser like Nigun. Nigun gets a panic attack on hearing this, and the village leader tells him that they need a ruler like his father who can fight by their side. His condition worsens. He gets a sharp headache and asks Shadow to help him by taking out a mirror he wears as a pendant. Ein gets bad vibes from the mirror, but he fails to appraise it, making him realize that someone has cast a high-level concealment spell on it. He tries to get the mirror away from Nigun's hand, but it is too late, as the boy gets consumed by darkness. He finds himself talking to Shadow while sitting in a puddle of blood overflowing from a goblet. Nigun asks for advice, and Shadow tells him to kill everyone who kills him just like they killed his dad. Nigun gets confused on hearing this, and Shadow decides to remind him about the truth of his father's death. When Nigun was a child, he idolized his dad who was loved and respected by everyone. He wanted to be like him too, but his body was too weak, and the village children refused to play with him, saying that they could catch his illness. Nigun was really hurt by that, and then one day, he heard some people saying that the Lord had found Nigun abandoned in a dumpster, which is why they look so different. The young Nigun was heartbroken to hear this, and he ran away, tripping on top of a puddle. As he began crying, the demon Shadow took advantage of the weakness in his heart and showed himself in the reflection. Nigun was really curious to see his reflection talk to him, and Shadow told him that he was his imaginary friend because he has no real ones. Nigun believed and accepted him because he really wanted a friend, and then Shadow got him to promise that he would keep his existence a secret from everyone. From that day, Nigun spent most of his time with Shadow. One day, he found his father looking quite ill and got worried about him. That was when Shadow showed his true colors and advised Nigun to brew a tea with special medicinal herbs to improve his father's health. Following his advice, Nigun made tea from the anti-fatigue herb and gave it to his dad daily. But his health kept getting worse till he kicked the bucket one day. Nigun was greatly saddened by his father's death and worried that he won't be able to look after the village. But Shadow told him that he would help him do everything perfectly. Despite seeing the complete flashback, Nigun doesn't understand what Shadow means by this because the tea was clearly made from a medicinal herb that was beneficial for his father's health. Shadow calls him an idiot for not figuring it out and tells him that he was the one who killed his father with his own hands. He reveals that the herb was not a medicinal plant but a poisonous weed. Nigun refuses to believe that because the encyclopedia clearly said that it was a plant that helped with fatigue, and Shadow grins smugly, stating that he used magic to edit the book, and the plant was actually a poisonous one that would lead to death if consumed over a long period of time. Nigun feels his entire life crumbling down after learning this truth, but Shadow is not done with his shocking reveals yet. He tells Nigun that he lied about Ein being a demon too, because if there is any demon here, it is him. Nigun is too stunned to even respond to that, and Shadow tells him that initially, he planned to take over his father's body and establish a route between this world and the demon realm to export humans there. However, Nigun's father never let his guard down, so he could not approach him. That is why he approached the vulnerable boy who fell for his lies because he wanted a friend so desperately. Shadow mocks Nigun, telling him that he stupidly killed his dad, whom he loved the most, and that is his breaking point. Nigun screams as he realizes that he got played like a fool, and as he loses control of himself, Shadow creeps inside his body, possessing it. While all this was happening, Ein could only stare at the dark mass surrounding Nigun, and as it disperses, he realizes that the person who came out is not Nigun but someone else. Ein asks him who the hell is he, and the demon introduces himself as Shadow the Enticer, a demon with the rank of a Viscount. Ein asks him where is Nigun, and Shadow points towards himself, saying that the coward is still in there. But he was such an idiot that it was easy to take over his body just by manipulating his emotions a bit. Ein gets furious at the demon, who tells him that it is his fault that things turned out this way. He explains his plan to take control of the village and ship the humans to the demon realm, but that was disturbed the moment Ein came here, leaving him no choice but to take matters in his own hands. Shadow tells Ein that unlike the crow demon who came after him the last time, he knows the weakness of humans. He is confident that Ein will not be able to fight back seriously, because killing him would mean killing Nigun. Shadow then attacks Ein with his dark powers, and he dodges his attacks before trying to restrain him with a barrier. However, the demon uses anti-spirit arts, shattering the barrier with ease. He boasts to Ein that he won't be able to do anything to him at his level. Ein decides to pour all his energy into the next barrier, but Shadow summons some ape monsters to attack the villagers, forcing him to go back and defend them. Ein creates a barrier and tells the villagers to run away while he is holding back the monsters, but Shadow summons more monsters and shatters the barrier. Ein creates his clones to tackle the monsters, but while he is distracted with saving everyone, Shadow hits him with a powerful punch. He keeps pummeling Ein, who tries parrying the attack but gets reminded of Nigun's cheerful face. He can't bear to harm the boy, so he uses a defensive skill to endure the attacks, but that means he can't move from his place. Ursula tells him to stop being sentimental and fight back, but Ein keeps thinking about a way to defeat Shadow without harming Nigun. Shadow realizes how much this dilemma is torturing Ein, and he starts having fun teasing him. He tells him to grow a pair and come at him seriously, because that is the only way he can save the villagers. However, Ein refuses to do that, because if he sacrifices one person to save 100 others, he will be on the same level as the idiot Nigun. He tells Shadow that he will never let that happen, and screams out Nigun's name, telling him to get a grip. Shadow laughs, saying that Nigun has shut himself off and won't be replying to any calls. He then resumes pummeling Ein, who walks towards him despite taking serious damage. Despite Yuri and others warning him before he gets seriously injured, Ein keeps walking towards Shadow, making him nervous. He then grabs Shadow's collar, telling him that he will save Nigun and everyone else, and then headbutts him with full strength, knocking him out. Ayn then starts yelling Nigun's name, and his voice reaches deep inside the boy's consciousness where he is blaming himself for all the misfortunes his people faced. Nigun tries avoiding Ayn's voice, but he tells him to think about why he wanted to protect his territory so badly. Nigun thinks about the past and how he always wanted to be like his father, but then he realizes that there was a deeper reason behind his desires. He wanted to protect the happiness of his people just like his father, but as he thinks about it, he starts to cry because he ruined everything. He knows that he has done things that cannot be forgiven, but he also realizes that if he just sits and sulks now, even more people will be in danger. He decides to keep moving ahead so that he can repair the damage he has already done, and slowly, he starts walking out of the dark place. On the other hand, Shadow suddenly comes back to his senses and puts some distance between himself and Ayn. He tells Ayn that nothing he does can save Nigun, and then attacks him again with his shadow limbs, when suddenly, his body stops. He realizes that Nigun is fighting back and tells him that it is useless, because no matter what he does now, he is not going to leave his body. Nigun tells Shadow that he has no problem with that, and then, for a brief moment, he gets control of his body back. Nigun thanks Ayn for trying to save him, and then draws his dagger, stabbing his own heart. Ayn is shocked to see this, but Ursula pops out before he can try to save Nigun. She tells him to honor Nigun's sacrifice, and they both watch him bleed helplessly. Shadow gets pissed and asks Nigun why the hell is he doing this, and they resume their conversation inside their shared mind. Nigun tells Shadow that he had realized that he was not just his imaginary friend, but something dangerous. However, he continued to ignore all the red flags and listen to his advice because he still considered Shadow a friend even when he had doubts about him. After hearing his heartfelt conversation, Shadow insults Nigun, calling him an overly emotional weak retard and telling him that he was no more than a tool for him. He tells him to die alone as he leaves his body, turning into a small frog-rat hybrid and escaping unnoticed. When he notices the girl Mia, he decides to enter her body when Ayn's sword stabs him right through his head. Ayn then runs over to Nigun, using Yuri's healing powers to treat his wound, but it doesn't seem to close. Ayn loses hope, but then Yuri comes out and starts healing Nigun, telling Ayn that their feelings will surely reach Nigun. Both of them keep calling Nigun's name as they heal him, and it indeed reaches the boy, bringing him back from the door of death. When Nigun opens his eyes, Ayn and Yuri hug him tightly, but once he is done processing his condition, he pushes them away, asking why the hell did they save him. He claims that it would be better for everyone if he just died, but Ayn tells him that he won't let anyone die, not even him. Just then, the villagers also arrive there, and their leader tells Nigun that he can't atone for his sins if he is dead. He tells him that he will have to live and face the anger and grief of the people he has hurt, and there is no way they are going to let him run away from that. Nigun suddenly realizes that he has a chance to atone for his sins, and he thanks the villagers for giving it to him. Yuri says she is really happy for him, when suddenly, she collapses because of exhaustion. Ayn holds her and then takes her to rest under a tree, telling her that if it was him who met Shadow instead of Nigun in the past, he would have turned out like this as well. He then suddenly gets angry at the demon for taking advantage of vulnerable humans, and swears that he will destroy all of them. Soon, Ursula and others come out of Ayn's eye and start checking up on Yuri, while Pina and Alice notice that Shadow is still not dead. Even though his body is impaled by Ayn's sword, he turns into an even smaller form to escape, but Pina seals him in a barrier. She then calls Ayn, who tells Shadow to tell him why the demons are trying to kill him or get obliterated. Shadow asks him to promise that he will let him go in exchange for the answer, and then tells him that there is an order to kill him. Ayn asks him who issued the order, and just as Shadow is about to take Echidna's name, he suddenly explodes. Ursula realizes that this was a spell to protect the identity of the mastermind, and she claims that they are dealing with someone really clever and cautious. After that, Ayn bids the villagers goodbye, but then Nigun asks him to do him one last favor and help his territory because they won't be able to survive without him. The villagers join him in begging Ayn to look after them, and he doesn't know what to say. Soon, he returns to the capital, where the king summons him and informs him that Nigun has surrendered to the guards and put an official request to make Ayn the new lord of the Rashik region instead of him. Ayn is shocked to hear this, but the king tells him that he was planning to give him a noble title and some land anyway, so this is a win-win situation for everyone. Suddenly, everyone starts clinging to Ein while telling him that he should accept this opportunity because they will handle all the complicated things for him. Ein is overwhelmed by all the things he has to consider now, but in the end, he decides to take up the noble title as well as the ownership of the land. The news of Ein defeating Shadow soon reaches Echidna, and she is honestly impressed and relieved because if he could not defeat someone like Shadow, her plans would be set back. Suddenly, a goth lowly demon named Iona comes there riding on her zombie servant and asks Echidna why is she so obsessed with this guy named Ein. Echidna tells her that Ein has a special eye, but Iona still doesn't think he is anything special because he is just a human. However, Echidna tells her that a normal human couldn't defeat Falco and Shadow. She says that they need to defeat Ein and asks Iona to take up the mission next. Iona refuses, saying that she is not interested in such low-level missions, but Echidna adds a bonus for her. She tells her that her mission also involves capturing a world tree spirit, and since Ein will be searching for it anyway, she can accomplish both her goals at once. Iona is interested on hearing about the world tree, and she takes up the mission. She is confident that as an elite demon, she can defeat any human, and commands her servant to jump into the portal for her, but the poor bastard is already dead. Iona just ditches it and jumps into the portal, and Echidna has a creepy smile on her face because she sent Iona to help make Ein even stronger. Meanwhile, in the human realm, Yuri eagerly asks Ein what he wants for lunch because she is going to cook for him today. Before he can give her an answer, Alice comes there and says she has something important to discuss with him. Pina pops up there immediately, thinking that Alice is going to confess her feelings to Ein, and Yuri says that she also wants to do it. However, Alice doesn't have any plans to do that yet. She tells Ein that she also wants to see her sisters, and she has been using her special ability to search for other world trees. Everyone gets excited thinking that she finally found another world tree, but Alice says that someone showed it to her. Ein doesn't care about the particulars and says that they should go and find the spirit, and suddenly, a blindfolded mature mommy says that she agrees with him. Ein gets confused because he doesn't recognize the voice and he can't even see where it came from. As he is looking around, he hears the voice of the mommy again, and this time it is coming from the bed. He turns around to see the blindfolded woman laying down seductively on the bed and freaks out, asking who the hell is she. The woman calls Yuri and others her sisters and asks them to come to her. Yuri immediately jumps on her, calling her elder sister Kirsch, but turns out that the mommy is just an illusion and not her real body. Yuri gets disappointed by that, but Ein still has not understood anything. Pina explains that Kirsch is the second oldest of the world tree spirits, and Ein is shocked that a world tree spirit came to him on her own. He introduces himself to her, and Kirsch starts getting really close to him. Ein gets embarrassed, and Alice gets mad at Kirsch for hitting on him. She tells her sister to get to the point, and Kirsch says that right now, a world tree is being targeted by demons, and they need Ein's help. Ein asks Kirsch to tell him where her world tree is, but she tells him that she is not in danger. Instead, it is May, their youngest and most adorable sister. She explains that May's hidden dungeon is a whole forest, but she has no guardian to protect her because they died long ago when some greedy people tried to get their hands on the world tree's power. Ein gets furious on hearing this, but then Kirsch tells him that she is acting as May's guardian right now. That comes as a surprise for Ein because world tree spirits can't leave their trees, but Pina explains that the three eldest sisters are high-level spirits, and they have some degree of freedom when it comes to moving. Ein finally understands that Kirsch has been protecting May till now, but the demon is about to take her away now. Kirsch tells him that he is right, and this is what she expected from Yuri's fiancé. Ein is stunned silence because he heard a word that signifies commitment, and then Kirsch begins dancing like a TikTok thought, saying that this body in front of him is an illusion clone while her real body is with May. Pina asks her if she can't defeat the demon targeting May with her special powers, and Kirsch replies that she can do that. But her ability is so powerful that she might accidentally blow up May's forest along with the demon. Ein asks Kirsch if she uses a blindfold to hide her eyes to hold back her power, and she affirms. Ein realizes that the demon must be really powerful if Kirsch can't defeat it without using her full power, and he is not going to let anyone harm a world tree spirit. He tells Kirsch that he will come get her and May for sure, and she tells him that Alice knows the location of May's tree. Soon after that, Ein reaches the cursed forest, which is May's hidden dungeon. Ursula tells him that there are many curses placed on the forest, and those who get infected by them can never find their way out. Ein combines Alice's 1,000-mile eye and his appraisal skill to find a way to May's location. But after a while, Pina points out that they haven't seen a monster or trap yet. Ursula tells Ein that there are monsters in the forest, but they are not idiots, and they are hiding from him because he is too strong. Ein realizes that since he doesn't have to deal with monsters, he can hurry. He uses his super speed skill to reach May, but then suddenly stops when he notices some danger. He finds a swarm of demonic bees flying in the air being commanded by a demon named Hornet. She tells Ein that she is going to kill him, and just then, a monster bear comes there. Hornet sends her bees to deal with it first, and they completely devour it in seconds. The demoness is confident that Ein won't last against this many enemies, but he simply vanishes and appears behind her, stabbing her chest. However, that is not enough to kill Hornet as she turns into a bunch of bees and disperses, telling Ein that he will never be able to find her real body. Ein tells her that he doesn't need to find anything because he will kill all the demons. Ursula has already figured out the weak points of all the bees, and using that Ein rains fire bullets on them, eliminating them all at once. Hornet panics on seeing this, and she decides to retreat to save her life. She finds a portal to the demonic realm and decides to escape using it, but to her shock, Iona comes out of it, and she is not happy that a demon is fleeing. Hornet tries to give an explanation, but Iona discards that as excuses and shoots her into oblivion. She then notices that her target has already found her, and turns around to introduce herself to Ein as a duke of the demon realm. Despite her incredible pressure, Ein doesn't even budge, but he realizes that she is really strong. Iona is impressed by him and says that it will be fun to kill him, but Ein tells her that she won't get any chance to do that. He immediately teleports behind her and then uses a skill to drain her power. Iona is surprised because she didn't even anticipate this move, and then Ein increases his strength to begin pummeling her. He doesn't even give her a chance as he yeets her to the sky and then slams her to the ground. Iona starts laughing because she hasn't faced an opponent this strong in a long time, and then decides to shoot Ein with her magic pistols. She tells him that he can't dodge her special attack, but Ein isn't going to do that anyway. He simply parries the attack, sending the bullets back to Iona, and she is confused because that should not also be possible. She tries to run away from the reflected attack, but she is not fast enough to do that and gets hit. Iona can't believe that she got so weak just because Ein drained her power once. She tries moving away, but Ein appears behind her and beheads her in an instant. Iona doesn't even have any idea what happened even when she is reduced to a severed head, and then Ein explains that he didn't drain her power just once. Every time he punched her, he drained her power, and right now, she is weaker than even an ordinary monster. Iona is devastated on hearing that and claims that this is not possible because she is an elite at the top of demon hierarchy. She calls Ein a coward for using an underhanded trick to drain her power and activates a portal to head back to the demon realm. She swears to kill him the next time they meet, and Ein is about to follow her, but Ursula stops her because they need to reach May and Kirsch first. Ein agrees, and soon, he finds a magic barrier that hides May's location from everyone. Ein wonders how to enter it, but then the barrier disactivates on its own, and a gate opens in front of him. He walks through the gate to find a peaceful and joyous place where the real Kirsch is waiting for them. Yuri rushes to hug her and then does a secret handshake with Pina. Ein then asks her about May, and Kirsch points out that she is taking her afternoon nap right now. Ein finds the cute baby napping peacefully and decides not to wake her up. However, he steps on a twig, and that startles May awake and she starts crying. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and watch the video on your screen next.